In 1998, Indonesia reached a breaking point. The nation was gripped by uncertainty, as the streets of Jakarta and other major cities filled with anxious citizens. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, and the world watched as the country teetered on the edge of dramatic change. The Asian financial crisis devastated the economy, sending shockwaves through every layer of society. The Indonesian rupiah collapsed, prices soared, and basic necessities became scarce. Decades of Suharto's authoritarian rule, marked by corruption and cronyism, fueled public anger and frustration, making daily life increasingly difficult for millions. In response, university students emerged as the vanguard of change. They led mass protests, bravely occupying the parliament building and demanding sweeping reforms. Their calls for Suharto's resignation echoed across the nation, inspiring people from all walks of life to join the movement. The Trisakti tragedy, where 4 students were killed by security forces, ignited nationwide outrage and sorrow. The tragedy became a powerful symbol of the struggle for justice, uniting Indonesians in grief and determination to bring about change. Riots erupted across Jakarta and other cities as anger boiled over into chaos. The regime's grip on power crumbled rapidly, and pressure mounted from all sides: students, workers, and ordinary citizens, demanding an end to the old order. On May 21st, Suharto finally resigned, ending 32 years of rule. His departure marked the close of an era and the beginning of Reformasi, a period of profound political and social transformation for Indonesia. The fall of the new order was not just a change in leadership, it was the birth of a new hope for democracy, justice, and freedom in Indonesia, inspiring generations to come. Reformasi brought sweeping changes to Indonesia, transforming the nation's political, social, and economic landscape after decades of authoritarian rule. The movement was driven by the courage and determination of ordinary Indonesians, students, activists, and citizens who demanded a more just and democratic society. The 1945 Constitution was amended in a series of historic steps, introducing direct presidential elections, term limits, and stronger checks and balances. These changes aimed to prevent the concentration of power and ensure leaders would be accountable to the people. Political freedom flourished as new parties emerged, giving Indonesians real choices for the first time in decades. The 1999 election marked Indonesia's return to democracy, with millions participating in a peaceful and competitive vote. Decentralization gave more power to local governments, aiming for fairer development and allowing communities to have a greater say in their own futures. This shift helped address regional inequalities and brought government closer to the people. The economy shifted toward transparency, with new anti-corruption measures and reforms to attract investment. The judiciary gained independence, and new institutions like the Constitutional Court were established to uphold justice and protect citizens' rights. Most visibly, the press was liberated. The Ministry of Information was dissolved, ending decades of censorship, and media exploded with new voices, opinions, and investigative reporting that held power to account. For the first time in decades, Indonesians could speak, write, and organize freely. Civil society blossomed, with activists and ordinary people engaging in open debate and public life. These reforms laid the foundation for a more open, accountable, and vibrant society, one where the voices of the people could finally shape the nation's future. Reformasi's progress has been challenged by entrenched corruption. The KPK, formed in 2002, prosecuted many officials, but faces constant resistance from powerful elites. Indonesia's corruption score remains low, showing the fight is far from over. Democracy, too, faces hurdles. Money politics, polarization, and threats to civil liberties persist. Minority rights and freedom of expression are not always protected in practice. Indonesia must deepen its democratic culture, ensuring equal rights, rule of law, and true tolerance. The journey is ongoing, demanding vigilance and commitment from all. The promise of Reformasi depends on overcoming these persistent challenges. The Reformasi era unleashed the Indonesian press, opening the doors to a new era of openness and transparency. For the first time in decades, journalists could report without fear of government retribution, and the public gained access to a wider range of information and perspectives. The abolition of the Ministry of Information ended decades of censorship and tight state control over the media. Suddenly, the press was free to challenge authority, question official narratives, and investigate stories that had long been suppressed. Media outlets flourished across the country, exposing corruption, injustice, and abuse of power. They gave voice to diverse communities, amplifying stories from regions and groups that had previously been ignored or silenced. Investigative journalism became a force for accountability, shining a light on wrongdoing and holding leaders to account. The press played a vital role in elections and public debate, helping to shape the nation's democratic journey. Yet, new challenges emerged. Digital disinformation spread rapidly online, financial pressures threatened newsroom sustainability, and the rise of social media changed how news was consumed and shared. Journalists also faced growing threats to their safety, from intimidation and harassment to violence, making their work more dangerous than ever before. Press freedom is now a defining feature of Indonesian democracy, but it must be defended against both old and new threats. The struggle for a truly independent press is ongoing. The media's role as a watchdog remains crucial, ensuring that those in power are held accountable and that the public stays informed. The fight for a free and independent press continues, as journalists and citizens alike work to protect the hard-won gains of Reformasi and keep the spirit of press freedom alive for future generations. Today, Indonesia is a vibrant democracy and a rising economic power, but inequality and corruption remain. The government invests in infrastructure and education, yet regional disparities persist. Indonesia's young population offers promise, but also demands jobs and opportunity. On the world stage, Indonesia is influential, but must address domestic challenges to fulfill its potential. The spirit of Reformasi, transparency, justice, and people's sovereignty guides Indonesia's ongoing transformation. The journey is unfinished, but the nation's resilience and hope endure.